Abdul Rahman Al-Dakhil, the last prince. History remembers kings for their crowns and warriors for their victories, but only a rare few are remembered for defying destiny itself. This is the story of a man who outran death, crossed continents, and rebuilt a kingdom with nothing but his courage. A man the poets would later call the one who carried an empire inside his chest. His name was Abdul Rahman Al-Dakhil, the last prince of the house of Umayyad, and the falcon who rose from the ashes of a fallen world. The night everything changed was not lit by stars, but by flames. Damascus trembled beneath the boots of the Abbasid revolution as palaces burned and the Umayyad dynasty was hunted to extinction. In a single night, princes disappeared, halls collapsed, and royal blood stained the very stones of the city. Yet in the heart of this storm, one heartbeat refused to quiet. A 19-year-old prince fled through the darkness, not escaping death, but racing toward a fate larger than the empire collapsing behind him. For years he wandered like a shadow the world could not kill. He crossed deserts where the sun punished the earth, hid among tribes where betrayal dressed itself as friendship, and slept by rivers listening not to the water, but to the footsteps of assassins searching for him. What kept him alive was not luck, it was purpose, an unshakable belief that the fall of his homeland was not the end of his story, but the beginning of his mission. Across the sea, in a land called Al-Andalus, another story was unraveling. Tribes fought tribes, leaders battled for power, and the land was rich but broken, beautiful yet wounded by division. And when Abdul Rahman heard these whispers, he understood. Destiny had not abandoned him. It was calling him across the waves. The boat that carried him to Andalusia was small, but the dream inside it was vast enough to change history. His arrival was not the arrival of a refugee, but the return of a leader stepping into the world that unknowingly waited for him. He did not seize power with cruelty. He earned it by awakening forgotten virtues, loyalty, honor, and hope. Warriors gathered around him not because of his title, but because they felt the fire inside him, a fire bright enough to illuminate a fractured land. Then came the day Andalusia held its breath, the Battle of Musarah. The clash of steel rose like thunder, dust spiraled across the fields, and the fate of an entire land teetered on a blade's edge. And in the heart of chaos stood Abdul Rahman, steady, fearless, fighting not for vengeance, but for the future he had endured years of suffering to reach. When silence finally fell, the hunted boy was no more. In his place stood the emir of Al-Andalus. From nothing, he built a world admired by all. Under his rule, Córdoba transformed into a crown of civilization, a city of scholars, poets, architects, gardens, and knowledge that glowed like a lantern in the dark corners of the earth. He planted a palm tree in his palace courtyard, not for beauty, but as a symbol. Even far from home, one can grow roots strong enough to hold a nation. For 32 years, Abdul Rahman Al-Dakhil ruled with brilliance, strength, and a heart that refused to bend. He left behind not just a dynasty, but a message whispered through centuries. Greatness does not always begin with power. Sometimes it begins with survival. He was a fallen prince who rose higher than any throne could carry him, a man destiny tried to destroy, but ended up defining. Abdul Rahman Al-Dakhil, the man who outran fate and built a kingdom from the ashes of his past.